Hey everyone, it's Katie again. So I made a leaf cane earlier and I really like the technique, and I was gonna upload it, but I don't know what the heck I'm gonna do with that much leaf. So rather than uploading the leaf cane, I'm gonna upload a flower cane using the same exact technique, and I'll show you the leaf cane later. But I ended up using like this amount and it came out with a lot of it. And I'm like, what am I going to do with that much leaf if I'm not like making a fairy house or something, which I don't tend to do. So I'm going to turn that into a flower petal, which I think will be quite cool. So what I have here is some scrap yellow from my what am I calling it? Buttercup flower cane. I have some orange, and if I haven't uploaded my buttercup flower cane, it'll be uploaded next week when I get back to work. I have some Primo orange. This is a mix of souffle, I think, and Primo. The orange is Primo orange, and then this is just a leftover scrap red I had from my Flip It flower, red and yellow and pink that I had from this flower that I made. So all I did was mix it up, and I'm going to use that. And we're going to make a 3-color Skinner blend. I do that in a teardrop Skinner blend. You can do it however you do Skinner blends. There are tons of detailed videos out on Skinner blends. There's a lot of teardrop Skinner blend videos. There's just a lot of videos out, so I don't feel like I need to go through that. Let alone if you're watching this, you're probably already a clayer and know how to do a Skinner blend. So make your Skinner blend. I'm going from yellow to, like I said, like a red. But you can use whatever colors you want. You can use 2 colors, you can use 3, you can use whatever you want. And this is going to be a flower petal that we're going to create. So I'm going to Skinner blend this until I'm happy, and then I will be back. Okay, I'm only halfway through my blend, but I did want to mention a little trick here. Now, if mine's going fine, but if you were saying, oh, I want a little more to go into my yellow here, I'm not getting enough coverage. I mean, I've only done it like 6 times, so it's not that much. You could take your clay and skew it a little bit. Skew it to whatever way you want it. You know, skew it a little more that way, or you could skew it a little more that way, and then run it through and then fold it like regular, even. And that may help pull a color one way or the other. I just wanted to say that. So if you're finding that you're not blending as much, or you could take a little bit of your whatever color that was and kind of put it here. You know, take a little bit of orange and it may pull it up. So that was just a little trick I wanted to tell you and let you know. I'm going to actually show you that. I hate using red, but I'm going to make this a little more red because it is red mixed with white, so it made a pink. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this cherry, and I really don't need to do this. I'm just doing it to show you how you could solve an issue if you're like, oh, I really don't like that or whatever. You don't need to add a lot sometimes. You can just start to tint it, you know. So put a little strip of red in there. It doesn't need to go all the way up. Just start to tint your clay with another color, and then you can keep adding. You probably, if you want to just tint a little bit, you probably want to go slow with it like that. And then I would continue running that on through, and that will begin to mix in with whatever color you have. I've also seen people go, oh, that's too dark, and they've added a strip of white along the bottom. So that can also help lighten your Skinner blend up. Let me do a couple more of these and I'll show you what that's, because you can already see it kind of mixing in here. I'll show you what that will do. So it's, again, still not done, but I don't know if you can see here, not just the line, but if you can see right here, and about right there is where my red that I added in ends. I don't know if you can see that well. But you see where it's getting darker right here? So that's where I added that red strip. This will get pushed in too. So I'm just going to finish blending that red in, and then I will we'll continue on with the tutorial. That's a good little trick. Okay, so here is my Skinner blend. And that pink did get a little dark. There's still a little more that could mix in, but I'm not worried about it, because when we're done manipulating this, it won't matter. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to make this into kind of a longer and skinnier strip. And I'll probably cut this roughly in 3. You can measure if you want to get equal pieces, but you really don't need to, unless you're you want to. And I usually always lay the cut side on the cut side, so that way I can kind of tell a little better. And then we'll cut one more off here. And set this guy on. Okay. So next what I'll do is either I would roll it, or since this is summertime and this is so soft, you can stretch it out because that's too thick right now to go through my pasta machine on my thickest setting. So I want to get it just a little thinner. And also you can pinch it together nicely, so that way when you put it through your machine, usually if you don't have it pinched nicely, the ends will separate. So you always want to hold the ends tight when you're putting it through your machine. So now this is skinnier. I'm going to make a long strip running down, not my thinnest setting, but you know, a thinner setting. It doesn't need to be super thin on this. Unless you really want it to be, but you'll see in a second. So always I got another little trick when you're making these long ones to fan fold or to jelly roll. You want to put your dark end in first. That way if you have any sludge in your pasta machine, it hopefully will stick to here and not to here. So put this in first and get it down. I think earlier when I did it, I did setting 3 or 4. So just get it into slightly longer and thinner. Okay, so I ended up doing setting number 3 on my pasta machine. Another thing, since I was using scrap clay, I got a few air bubbles in here. So if that happens to you, just take your blade, slice across it, and then push your air out. And it's always better if you see them to get them out now than to wait until your finished product. Though, you know, honestly, we're going to, again, continue to mess with this, so they may just push out throughout the condensing process, but they may not. So it doesn't hurt to take a few seconds to get any out that you may see. I think I already got that one, yeah. Okay. Next thing you need to do, let me grab the leaf cane so you can actually see what we're doing here. Okay, so this is a leaf cane I made. And I think it looks pretty, and I've already chopped slices out of it. I think it looks pretty cool, but it's not, I want you focused, like how much, and I have a lot of this, so I don't really know what the heck I'm going to do with this much leaf, but it has kind of a cool pattern in it. I'm trying to get it to focus. So yeah, it has kind of a cool pattern in it that I was going to do with a flower. And make a flower petal rather than a leaf. So that's kind of what we're doing. So in this one I used just green and yellow, and then I used ecru as my secondary color, okay, that I backed on this long strip. So I need to decide what color I want to back this strip with, and if I want to back the whole strip with a color. So just set that down. I'm thinking, because I'm going to do a petal, I want the inside to be this yellow, and I'm going to make the outside be the dark red. And I'm thinking, or you could do the inside red and the outside yellow. It doesn't really matter at this point. I'm just thinking my yellow portion I want to back with white. So maybe half of this with white, and then leave the other half with no coloring. So let me get a little strip of white out, and I will show you that part. And this is totally optional. I mean, you could put a full layer of white under this. You could put a full layer of contrasting. You could do half in one color, half in another, and you'll see when it comes together what I'm talking about. But I think I'm only going to do half of it this time. Last time I had the green and yellow Skinner blend, and I did a full backing of ecru behind this. But I think I'm only going to do half of it with white and then leave the other half my dark. So let me grab my white. Okay, so I have a strip of white here, and I'm sorry that this is all really long, but I think, let me first cut an end off my strip of white here. And it doesn't need to be exactly the same size. I think I may have said this was maybe on a 3 or 4, and this is definitely on a 5. I'm sure about that. So it's just a little thinner than my other sheet, but there's really no rules to this. So this is a nice, easy beginner cane because there's not a lot of right and wrong. And like I said, I'm only going to put the white until it starts to get dark. because I want the tip of my flower darker and I want my end whiter, or lighter. Okay, and then we're going to cut off any excess white because I don't want to waste that, obviously. No sense in wasting it. Just, again, it does not, none of this needs to be exact. This is a great beginner cane, honestly. And what's cool is you almost get 2 canes out of one, or 2 out of 1 for this. And you'll see in a second what I'm talking about. And earlier I'd never made the first cane that you would get out of this because I had no need to make the first cane that you'll be seeing in a second. I just had no use for it in the projects I do. But at least now, if you've never done it, you'll know how to make it. So I'm just trying to cut off some of this white here. Okay, next thing we're going to do, if I can get this color off my finger, let me put my white away. And any brands of clay work well for this, or whatever you want to use. Okay, so the next thing we're going to begin doing is fan folding in every weird direction. There's no particular way we need to do this. The one thing you want to do is try to keep your light with your light and your dark with your dark, and that way we can have a tip of a petal and an end of a petal. But it doesn't really, I mean, if you're trying to do a flower, that's kind of what you would want. You wouldn't want dark and light mixed. And again, you'll see in 2 seconds what we're going to do. So I'll take the yellow side is where I'm going to work. And I'm going to begin fan folding this. And it's a skinny fan fold, and some of them are skinny, some of them are going to be fatter. And you really just want to make it like weird. Sorry, I'm sticking to parchment paper. So there's really, you don't need to keep it in a straight line. You can go jig-jaggedy. There's no real rules to this, okay? You can come over the side a little bit. You can start coming back. See that? But there's no real rules to this, which is kind of neat in that sense that this cane is super easy. Like, just fold it. Some can be wider, some can be skinnier, some can be, you know, taller, fatter. There's no real rules to this. See what I'm doing? It is kind of going in a straight line, but it's different than regular concertining or fan folding depending on where you are. So just back and forth all the way through. Another one there. Come across, put one there, put one here. Maybe one there, and maybe one there. Okay, so see what we got now? So now we're going to begin squishing this into, and because I'm doing, with the intent of doing a flower petal, I'm going to try to keep the red on the red and the yellow on the yellow, so it goes a lighter to darker. But if that's not what your intent was, you could smush it any which way. It really doesn't matter. And so I'm just going to round this off. Okay. And ultimately, when we cut this in a second, you'll see the first cane you get. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to just make it slightly bigger to get 3 slices out of this. Now you could put a backing fully around this if you wanted to. But you don't need to as well. Okay, so let's slice it in 3 because we're going to be shape shifting this a bunch. Okay, let's cut this in 3. 1, 2, 3. And when we look, this side doesn't show it as much because we didn't wrap it in white, but that's a brain cane. So if you would have done a backing of white on all of it, you would have gotten a brain cane. That's how easy a brain cane is just layering the white over it and then folding it in weird directions. And I've never made this cane before, so I don't know. I did it in a leaf, but I backed the whole thing, so I don't know how it's going to turn out. So the next thing we're going to do, and let's see. I kind of want my stripes going up and down, but it won't really matter because this is going to get small. So next what we're going to do, keeping the dark at one end and the light at the other, is we're going to squish this into a little rectangle, because we're going to put these together multiple times. So we're going to squish each one, try to keep it the same length and the same height if you can. Good, and we'll squish this one too, and that one's a little, so it's going to have to be skinnier because it was a little shorter than the other ones. So to make it the same height, we're going to have to make it a lot skinnier than the others, but it won't really matter. We're just trying to get a variated pattern here. Okay, and we're going to squish all of these together. And we're going to again make it around. I'm just flattening off my ends. Okay, and then we're going to cut it again. You can cut it 2, 3 times, however many times you would like. Doesn't really matter. We're just going to put it together again. It's so soft. Okay, and that's what we're getting here. So if you think of it, this will be the bottom of our petal and this will be the top. But we're going to make this pattern even smaller. So the more times you put these together, the smaller all these waves will get. Okay. So again, I'm going to squish them into a square. Or a rectangle, I mean. You realize how much you mess up on your words when you actually rewatch it back to yourself. Because when you're doing this alone, you don't really say these things. And you could also, a cool thing to do, you could just like my Flip It flower cane, I called it, my Skinner Blend Flip It, and I cut into 3, and then I did 2 to 1. See? I did 2 on the dark and 1 on the light. You could do that with this if you wanted to, which would be kind of neat. You could see what that turns out if you did like this, 1 dark on one side and put it together like that. You could try that. So again, the next thing you're going to do is squish them all together. And again, the more times you do this, the finer and finer all this swirling will get. So I will do the same exact thing at least one more time. I'll do it one more time and then I'll come back and show you what that looks like, and I'll tell you if I'm going to do it another time. Okay? So I'm going to do the same thing we just did. I'm going to stretch this out and cut it into 3. I actually decided to come back before I finished. So I just, like I said, I rolled it and I cut it into 3, but I want to show you how much finer this petal got. So this is a little skewed, so I'm just going to pull up on one side and push down on the other. Look how much finer that got. And that was what, 3 times we did it? This would be the 3rd time. The 3rd or the 4th time. So the more times you do this, the finer and finer these lines will get, and eventually you could probably mix them all out if you do it enough times, or blend the color in fully. So this will be probably the last time I'm going to do this. Just trying to make them all the same height, and we're going to push them together. And this essentially will be our petal. Right here, which I think looks pretty cool, at least for me. Now, one thing you could do, which I don't think I'm going to do, you could cut this 3 times, right here, here, and here, and put veins in if you wanted. You could definitely do that. If you slice down just like a leaf, you would make, I'm not going to do it, but you'd make 1, 2, 3 slices. Okay, and then you would insert a separate color in there, and that would give you lines in your petal. But I'm not going to do that because I don't want lines in this petal. And you could totally, that's what our petal is going to look like ultimately. There's a little something on it, but at least at this stage I would make it round, because what we need to do is reduce it down enough to get 5 or 6 petals, depending how many petals you want to turn your cane into. So if you want to do 5, you need to get 5 slices. If you want to do, like this one's a 6 petal, you need to get 6 slices. So we're going to reduce a circle like I reduce every one of my circles. If you've watched any of my other videos, we're going to start in the middle. We're going to use our crab claws, you know, 2 fingers, whether it's pointer, and we're going to start in the middle and we're going to pinch it to get a waist. Now, because it's summertime and I'm using one souffle and primo, they may reduce at different rates, which is fine. But because it's summertime and it's 90 degrees here today, things are going to move quickly, and we've been messing with this clay, so it's even going to move even quicker. So I'm going to start in the middle and then work my way up to the end. I'm going to flip it, start in the middle, and work my way up to the end. And I tend to do 6 petal flowers. I don't know why. This was actually my first 5 petal flower, and I reduced it like a star, which worked out okay, but I'm thinking most people will struggle to reduce as a star. I don't think I packed it with enough translucent to make a full circle, which is fine because I reduced it okay. That was my first star I'd ever reduced. I don't know why I do 6 flowers. I just have an easier time putting them together when they're 6. I'm just flattening off my ends a little bit, and I'll do a quick roll. I'll start in the middle, work my way up into the end. Okay. If you want to fast forward, hit those 3 dots at the top of your screen and hit playback speed and speed this up, or you can double tap your screen and go 10 seconds if you know how to reduce. If you don't know how to reduce, this is how we're doing it. And then I do a quick roll just to even it off. And again, one side's just a little fatter than the other, so I just did it lightly. Okay. So I'm just seeing how big it is on my measuring tile here, because if I cut off the ends, you know, the distorted ends, I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. So I'm going to reduce this down a little more. And when it's hot like this, you can actually pull it fairly well and stretch it quite a bit just by giving it a nice pull. And you do want to work down, because if you just pull from the ends, only one area is going to get thinner. Okay, let me just cut off these ends and see what they actually look like, because they may actually look okay in this type of design. That got a little smushed. Let me cut this. Got a little smeared because I don't think I cut with my blade side. Let me just... So even though the ends are distorted in this, I don't think it'll really matter. So let's see what we got for length. Except for this is a little fat. We definitely have enough to get 6 out of here. So I usually work in 1-inch sections myself. You know, and if you mix this color completely up, you honestly, I don't know why I didn't bring that to the 1-inch. If you mix this up, you probably would get some type of orange on this. So that's what it looks like right now. So there's 1 inch. It's weird because the camera's where my head should be. 2. Got a little skinnier there. 3, 4, 5, and this is just a hair fatter. I'm trying to keep them with all the same amount of clay roughly. 6. Okay. So this is what we have. And right now we need to shape these into petals. So let me... Okay. And don't worry about if there's little air pockets in there. That won't really matter. So again, you need to decide, do you want your yellow on the outside or do you want your red on the outside? So let's see. If I lightly pinch this and lightly pinch another one, I was going to do my red on the outside, but I think with the veins, I actually like the red on the inside. Yep, I like the red on the inside better. Though I like the red on the inside, I have to think what I'm going to use for a background color. And I was thinking of using that on this background I made. And if I put the yellow on the outside, I don't know how well. I mean, this yellow showed up okay. Yep, let's do the red on the inside. So we're going to shape this into a leaf right now. Okay, so pinch whatever side you want on the inside. If you want the red on the inside, pinch the red, make it a teardrop. You're trying to make it all the same thickness all the way down. And if you want the yellow on the inside, pinch the yellow. And roll that back out. Make sure you're flipping it and looking at both ends because it may get a little skewed. So if you start on one end pinching all the way down, you may get to the other end and be like, oh no, I pinched here. So either straighten them all so you have definitely like the red line, or just check and make sure that you're pinching the color you want to be pinching. Okay. So I'm going to pinch the rest of these and I'll be back. My videos get very long, so I don't want them to get too long. So I'll do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm on my last one here. And I'm just pinching. And what you'll notice is on the side you're pinching, you see how it's flaring out? You want to push those back in because you want it all to be about an inch tall. You want them all to be about the same height. So after you get it pinched, just push it back in so it's around the right height. Okay, so now I have all my petals shaped as I want them, and you could do whatever. You can add, on these guys, on the edge of the petal, I added a little indent, so they, had a little indent there, and that's my buttercup flower cane that I'll be posting soon. So you could do that. You can shape them so they're pointy like this. You can shape them however you want. So that one's a little taller. I'm trying to get them all roughly to the same height. That one's a little taller. This one. Okay. So then we need to set up your petal however you want to set it up. And just take a peek at it. Make sure you're happy. Don't push them together yet. Just kind of set them there. Okay, so that's kind of what we have. I know it's weird shaped. The next thing we need to do is decide if we want to, or what color you want for your center. Now for my centers, I tend to use scrap clay. So get whatever color you want for your center and we'll do that next. So I have a little bit of this Cernet metallic. I think I'm going to use that because it's going to be kind of a nude center. And you'll need probably just a little skinny sausage, about the same height. Now, the other thing to think about, and you'll see with both of my other flower tutorials, which you can watch, there's two ways to backfill this. Now, in this one, if you want the space, not just because it's a 5 petal, if you want the space, the gap between each petal, you want to put a layer of translucent from here to here. From here, wrap it around the tip, and go from here. Put them all together, and then backfill. If you want them all nice and tight, don't put that layer of translucent there. Okay? So we'll do what we do now. If we want them nice and tight like this, with no gap in between, do what I'm doing now. But if you want them spread out a little bit more, even if they're 6 petals, check out how I backfilled this cane on my YouTube. So what I'll do is I'm going to put 3 of these together at their tips. Okay. Because I need to see how big of a sausage I need. And then I'll put these 3 together. That's how I usually do it. It's easier to do 3 and 3. That one's a little taller, but that's okay. I think as humans, we stress about little things too much. And try not to stress about the little things too, like, oh my god, one's a little taller than the other. Don't worry about it. Okay, so if we look at this, yeah, that's probably the right size circle. So let me set this little circle in here. Let me cut off the excess. You know, I really hope these videos are helpful for you guys to start experimenting on your own, especially with this cane. I found it super helpful for me doing the 30-day cane challenge, because it's really gotten me to really get out of my comfort zone and really try different canes and experiment, because that was just a brain cane we made. You know, we initially made a brain cane, and then I just turned it into something else, totally something else. So then the next thing is I'm just applying all of them around. And again, if one is a little short, you can just pull it a little bit and make it a little longer. It'll just make your petal a little tiny skinnier. Okay. I want him touching the center, not so much touching my other guy. And then the last one. And you may have to fudge with it a little bit to get it to go how you want. Now these three are a little tight to each other. Like that? What do you think? And you know, also, this is huge. This is huge. We got to get this down to this size. No one is going to notice any little minor imperfections. No one but you. So don't freak out about that. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is pack with translucent. So get out whatever type of translucent you use, and we'll begin packing in these petals with that translucent, and that will hold our shape that we want to keep this flower in. You could pack with a color if you want to pack with a color. I tend to backfill with translucent, and that way when you add it onto a pendant, and this is another tutorial that's coming next week, you really don't see the translucent that was around it, which is what I like when I make my pendants. So I tend to use Primo White translucent. I will grab that. I'm going to pack half of it, and then I'll come back and show you how I go about packing it, okay? Because you don't need to watch me pack the whole thing. It'll probably take me a good 20 minutes to pack it all. And I generally turn on the TV and just hang out, and I'm watching the Game Show Network tonight, and I will do that. I'll be back. Okay, so I have most of it backfilled, and yes, I am doing it the way I say I hate doing it. I usually do not do it this way, but for this one, it's easier. So you just got to take it petal by petal and flower by flower of how you're going to backfill. So generally, I roll out tiny little sausages and just lay them in there. But this V is very small and not very deep and not overly curved. So I'm just rolling out a sausage here to the height I think it will be, and then I'm pinching a triangle. Okay, I'm just pinching it with my 2 fingers like this to form a triangle at one end, like that. And if it was a deeper V, you could pull up and make this point a little taller. Okay, and then once you think you got it, set it down in. Okay, cut off your excess. Okay, but then we have a gap here. So this is what I normally do when I backfill. I roll out a tiny little sausage. This is how I'm going to fill the gaps, and I just set it in there. And when I usually backfill, I usually do that for the whole thing. Just roll out, because it's kind of no-brainer. You don't really have to think about it. I can be focused on something else, watching TV, listening to my audiobook, and just be making these tiny little sausages. But for this one, that would have taken longer, so kind of whatever's quicker is what I tend to do, and whatever's easier for me. However you normally backfill is how I would backfill. So now we have roughly the translucent all the way up to the layer of our petals, to the height of our petals. Okay, now we're going to add a layer to wrap this full. Guys, I'm so sorry, my video cut out for some reason. I rolled a really thin strip out on setting number 3. I wrapped it around that block, and then I began reducing it the same way we reduced to get this, and this is where I'm at. I'm really sorry for that. So usually we start in the middle like always. We pinch with our thumb and forefinger just like I showed you before when we were reducing this to get it into 6, and we're going to work our way up to the end. I don't know what the heck happened there, but it got all screwed up. So if it's a little weird for a second in the video, I apologize. And I'm just going to reduce this, as I was saying, I'm going to reduce it down into 3 different sizes, my large, medium, and small, because that's what I tend to use on my pieces. You can see I have large there, this one's a medium, that one's a small, and that's what I tend to do when I'm layering my pendants. If you're questioning on what size you may need in the future for a cane, I would keep it larger than smaller, because you can always make it small. You have a hard time bringing it back big. I mean, you can roll in towards your finger, but yeah, just keep it larger. If you don't know what size you need and you're not using it at the moment, you're better off keeping it larger. So I'm going to reduce this down until I'm happy with the size, and I will be back to show you what this cane looks like. Be very excited to see, my first time ever doing it. Most of these canes are all my first time doing it, and I figure I might as well do it on camera with you, and that way if we have any mistakes or if there's anything I would change, I can just tell you right then and there. Okay, I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so this is about the size I would do. This side's a little bit fatter. I would do for my largest cane. When they get long like this, you can also pull on them and stuff to make them skinnier, but I'm happy with this size. This will be my large. Are you ready to see it? So I'm going to cut some of it off, maybe about this. Oh, it's beautiful. Guys, I wish you could see it in real life. See. Oh, I love it. Can you see how the color came up to the top? I think it's gorgeous. I'm impressed with this one. This will look great. Oh, it's beautiful. See how impressed I am with myself at the moment? I've never made it. I thought it would make a great flower. Ah, it's awesome. So I'm going to reduce this down into my smaller sizes, and I will be back when I'm done that. I'm really impressed with this cane. I think I'm getting pretty good at these flower canes with doing the 30-day cane challenge. I've gotten pretty good. I'm saying I've gotten my techniques have improved, and I feel like I've gotten more creative with them. And I hope all of this is helping you guys too. So I actually did 4 sizes. Let me see if I can get it to focus. So I don't know what to call this. I'll figure out a name for this one. My red and yellow flower, I might just call it. Or my yellow-orange spike flower or something. I don't know. I'll decide on a name. But I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's pretty cool looking. It'll be definitely a cool overlap flower. And you can see in the big petals here, if it will focus, that the orange goes right up through the petal. You can definitely see it on that top one there. So I'm happy with this. So I hope this tutorial was helpful for you guys. And most of it is very, very simple. There's really not much to this flower here. Practice with it, practice with your flowers, and you will get better. You know, start with the basics. Start with the bullseye, the jelly roll. You know, start with all those basics, you know, and gradually do the flowers, and you'll get better at them. So if this video was helpful for you, it may be helpful for someone else. So, you know, please like, share. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. You know, please help me out by sharing and getting more viewers, because I only have like 42 viewers, and if that's all it's going to stay, then I probably won't continue making these videos, because it takes a long time to make the videos and then to edit the videos, even though I don't do much fancy titles and stuff like that. But it still takes a long time. So if people actually want to see them and you think it's helpful, please let me know and I'll keep doing them. I'm just trying to do things in the way I do it, which may be a way that would help someone else do it. You know, because like, especially like the rose cane, when I watched that, I was so confused watching other people do it. So I just did it the way that made sense to me, and I'm hoping it made sense to other people to get a good looking rose. So anyways, please like, share, comment. If you have any questions, I am on Facebook. My name is Katie Gordon. I live in, I think it says Milton, Vermont. I'm a dental hygienist. You can find me on my Facebook, and if you want to share any photos you've done, I'd love to see them. I'm also a group member on Jessima Designs, so if you want to leave a picture there, just, you know, put my name, inspired by Katie Gordon. I'd love to see what you come up with. I will see you guys next time. Later.